Welcome to the Intercut Podcast, the weekly show going over the TV, movies, and entertainment that people can't cut away from. I am your co-host, Zachary Shevich, and joining me, he's the Siskel to my Ebert, the Roper to my Ebert, the Ben Lyons to my Ben Mankiewicz. It's Arturo Zurita.
What would it be if it was, what's his name? The Leonard to my Malton. Nice to be back over here. We got a special one for you. We took a little bit of a break, a little busy. My man wasn't even in the States.
Yeah,
you want to tell him where you were?
Yeah, I was a little bit transcontinental, going to Europe for a few days, visiting some friends. Had to do that. Had to give myself that time. It was a little hard balancing our schedules because we're both busy people outside of this show and with this show. So thank you for coming back and joining us after a brief intercut break. We're going to make sure this is a really good episode for all of y'all.
He went to Amsterdam. I had to go get him. I got a call. And I had to say, no matter who you are, I have a particular set of skills in podcasting, and I will find you. But we got Zach back. We're good to go.
He pulled me off of the Tifios bench to tell me that. Anyway, we are, it's bracket season here on the Intercut.
Season.
March Madness may have ended. Shout out to Villanova, but Film Twitter is deep in the bracket debate, so we'll get into some Spielberg, A24, and Netflix talk in just a few minutes. But first, we got to start it the way we start you off every week here on the Intercut. Art, what you been watching?
Bro, a lot since the last time. Let's see. Ready Player One, I thought was
that's the big movie.
Did you see it yet?
I haven't. I missed it. Right, I'm going to catch up. I'm sure we'll talk about it soon.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting movie. I thought it was good. I thought the nostalgia references, I made a couple of videos on it. The Easter eggs are fantastic. Yeah. Anyone telling you they found all the Easter eggs, they are lying. There's no way. Spielberg even said, he's like, when that one get in there? Like, literally, he's like, well, who put that one in there?
That's the thing for me about all the Easter eggs. I'm like, what 20-year-old is doing all this under Spielberg's nose? Because there's no... Does Spielberg know what Akira's motorcycle looked like?
It's weird ones. Like, they snuck in Schindler's List, the book. Schindler's Art, like, stuff like that. I was like, all right, so we're going to be for years trying to figure out what it is. It's fun. I don't think it's as mind-blowing as I wanted it to be. Maybe it's my expectations too high, but I think when you watch the movie, you're going to look and you're going to be like, maybe the way I did, it's a kid's film.
Yeah.
Like we're talking like it's kids fighting full-grown adults. And the corporation that's fighting them is the dumbest corporation I thought was a good joke. This corporation literally hires interns just to study pop culture, so they can find the keys. So I made the joke that I'm like, oh, so it's Watch Mojo. Oh, so it's Looper. Oh, it's all these YouTube channels that whore out everything that you love. Exactly. But I will say probably the most impacting thing, probably the thing that really got me the most, was the fact that they actually thought they can make, what's her name? She's right behind you from Thoroughbreds.
Olivia Colman?
Is that her name?
Cook.
Olivia Cook. They thought they can make her look ugly. Right? Because when he sees her in real life, right, she's like, oh no. She's like, why are you covering your hair? And she's got a tiny birthmark.
Ooh.
No! Olivia Cook is hot as can be. The girl's wearing booty shorts too. She's wearing jean booty shorts. She's like, oh, I know, I'm so hideous.
Right.
She, her lips are glistening in the wind. It was the
there's real world ugly, and then there's movie ugly, which is 5 steps above real world beautiful.
Bro, she could have covered her entire face with that birthmark. It would have made a difference. But it was a good movie. Let's see, I'll go down to something else, see if maybe you've seen it. Did you watch Acrimony, Tyler Perry's newest film?
No, I skipped the Tyler Perry joint. How was this one?
It is the story of Taraji P. Henson turning into a villain, a straight-up Batman villain when she doesn't get it.
Well, she's fun to watch as a villain.
She is fun to watch. To see her go absolutely bonkers was a joy, so there is that. Your faith, how's your faith? We just had an Easter weekend that passed by.
Yeah, Passover weekend as well, depending on how you do it, whether or not you believe in the yeast rising or not.
Exactly. Well, I believe it's God's Not Dead year, and God's Not Dead 3 came out, and I don't know if you heard, but I thought it was the best of the trilogy. Is that saying much?
Yeah, I know that's not saying much, but I was surprised that you praised it at all. Knowing your history with the franchise.
Exactly, right? We have an abusive relationship, the guys with that franchise and I. But I came out of it going wow. All I'll say for it is that they saw the YouTube videos and articles about it, and they looked in the mirror and said, let's criticize ourselves. And they kind of be-rabbit it. There's a little 8 Mile moment that happens in there when they go, all of you guys are I'm yelling too. Maybe we should shut up and listen to each other. And I was like,
perhaps a bit more introspective than previous entries in the God's Not Dead franchise.
Exactly. So for that alone, I'd say that was pretty interesting. But
nice.
Yeah, those were the theatrical releases. What have you been watching, Zach?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, was flying intercontinentally, and the best part of a really long flight, in my opinion at least, is catching up on movies. I had a few queued up, and thankfully, I got that flight that had that like video on demand, so I got to pick out of the ones that I haven't seen yet. So what I miss in theaters: Welcome to the Jungle, Jumanji. I caught up with.
Hey, what'd you think?
Man, I'm totally on your page. That movie,
fun.
I'm not going to say it was like a perfect version of what it could be, but it was close to it.
The perfect version of what it could be.
It was close to it. Like, it's a really fun, kind of schlocky, dumb premise, but enjoyable adventure movie. There's that whole conceit of the movie that the main 4 stars, played by Dwayne Johnson, Karen Gillan, Kevin Hart, and Jack Black, are all inhabiting the personalities of these high schoolers that get transported into the game. That's a really fun conceit that lets them kind of get... there's no other time that I really believe Dwayne Johnson as a bit of a schlub, as a guy who's nervous. But it really works here. The Kevin Hart stuff really worked here. Jack Black
is the best one in the movie.
I think there's a lot of ways you can kind of handle that character and make it seem a little bit mean, like you're making fun of girls, or you're going to make him seem effeminate or something. I thought it was kind of like lovely the way he handled it, and hilarious how he's teaching Karen Gillan to flirt was hysterical to me.
When he pees for the first time?
Yes. And I thought there was like a really warm, fun center to this movie. That it's not really consequential in a huge way, but it's not. But it's also not completely dumb. It's not a waste of your time in the way that I expected it to be when I first heard about this premise. So yeah, I mean, as a movie to just kind of like catch up with if it shows up on HBO or something, that's a definite recommendation for me, because I really enjoyed it.
How long was your flight?
8 hours.
So you saw Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle 4 times?
Yes. No, I actually put on Atomic Blonde as well, which I think I'm also on your opinion in that I'm kind of like can give or take on the movie, but that last little bit has a lot of really killer action in it. I mean, the action in general is really good in that movie. I just never felt like I understood why or what's happening, because the thing about that movie is she keeps just kind of walking into rooms, punching everybody there, and leaving. And I don't think she actually gets anything from most of those places. But it's fun to watch. And I kind of thought it was perfect for what I needed on that flight, was just like bouts of entertainment. I can't necessarily say I recommend it, although if you're an action movie fan, definitely worth checking out. The surprisingly really great movie that I saw is one that I think just came out recently on VOD in the States, and it's called The Death of Stalin. Have you heard of this one?
It's the one I got the screener for it, and I've yet to see. I don't know why. Like, I literally have it on my list before I make my monthly wrap-up. But I have not, but I have heard good things about it.
Yeah, this is one from Armando Iannucci, who did In the Loop, if you're a fan of that movie. He's also the co-creator, or I think the creator, of Veep. He's very good at this political, satirical comedy, this kind of comedy of showing how people in charge are sometimes more interested in protecting their own image and their own sense of power, their own seeming power, than they are in actually doing the right thing. So this takes place in the Soviet Union around the time of when its former leader, Joseph Stalin, died. And then it's just sort of showing the weird flailing for power that exists among the people underneath him. You have Steve Buscemi and Jeffrey Tambor among the many people who are in the Russian intelligence there, and it was just, it's so funny in the way that these people are desperate to try and prove something, but also desperate to prove that they're loyal. And there's like a very comedy of manners there, where they're all trying to like stick their necks out in a society that slits your throat for sticking your neck out. if you have enjoyed any of his political comedies, you're guaranteed to like this one. But even if you haven't, I'd recommend it just because I think there's kind of like a fun energy to the way that they're all conniving against each other. And it's basically a movie where everybody knows somebody is going to end up at the top of this power pyramid, and whoever doesn't will probably get killed. But it's not. It's like a dialogue action movie. You know, there's no real fighting. There's just a lot of like conspirating.
Yeah. So like what Tarantino does best.
Yeah.
I'd say with that dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's like half of a Tarantino movie if you take out all the bloody stuff.
I'll be watching it tonight, so should have seen it already by now. But
cool. So yeah, I'll get back to you on Ready Player One. You get back to me on Death of Stalin on a future edition of the Intercut. But we'll move on. We're not going to do the usual yay or nays. We wanted to talk a little bit about brackets because with March Madness and stuff, it seems like a lot of film Twitter has become occupied with the idea of brackets and rankings and what have you. So we wanted to get into it and talk a little bit about the best Spielberg movies, the best A24 movies, the best Netflix shows. Let's start it off with Spielberg, though, because Ready Player One, as you mentioned, is the latest Spielberg film in theaters. He's a director who's made a lot of films and a lot of very different films, so I think it'll be kind of interesting. We have a bracket that we're working off of, which we'll post a link to in the description down below if you want to see as well. Let us know what you think. Let us know what would win in your bracket challenge. But let's start this off real quick. Art. The 1 through 16 matchup is pretty 1 through 32, I guess, pretty easy.
Yeah. 16 on each side.
E.T. versus Spielberg's debut film, the TV movie Duel. I mean, I think Duel's really underrated, but I don't know if anybody's gonna go that over E.T.
Nobody put it in E.T. All right, so I think the way we're going to do this is, for the most part, I think you and I are going to agree, right? Because we have a podcast together. But if we ever don't agree, we just come back and default to my opinion. So I don't think we're going to have to do that with this one, but I definitely have to say I'm going to have to phone home with E.T. So, I mean, it's number one for a reason.
Absolutely. So should we go to the next matchup?
All right.
So this was, I guess, one of the ones where it starts to get interesting. Color Purple versus Schindler's List. They're very different movies. I think there's a lot of people who really stand for The Color Purple and love it a lot, but I don't know if you can necessarily go it over Schindler's List, which is the movie that kind of earned his Oscar, and is kind of why many people consider him not just good, but important as a filmmaker.
Bro, Schindler's List, you know the story about Schindler's List in his school?
What about it?
So you know how like the people who created film school didn't go to film school, right? So so he decided to go to school. Somewhere in California, one of the schools in California, and his thesis, his senior project, whatever you want to call it, was Schindler's List. The Academy Award winning, race-defining? Can you even say race? For like the Jewish opeth that is Schindler's List. That was what he turned in. I
mean, yeah, he volunteered to not get money for the movie because I think he said he'd consider it blood money.
Yes.
But I mean, whether or not that's even publicity or not, it's just that the movie itself is really effective, really powerful at showing devastation during World War II. I think it's one of the classic Holocaust films.
No doubt.
Just in illustrating the utter devastation. So I'm gonna go Schindler's List there.
For sure, Schindler's List.
Next one up, Last Crusade, Indiana Jones versus the BFG. Not a lot of people saw the BFG in theaters. I think this is a pretty easy decision as well, Last Crusade.
This one's hard.
Yeah. So we got in the 8 versus 21 matchup, Saving Private Ryan versus Munich.
Because Munich's good.
Munich is kind of one of his more underrated movies. I think a lot of people have been coming on late to Munich and really appreciating what he did there.
It's like you'll see like an influx of a couple articles writing about Munich, right? And you're like, oh, y'all barely rented this movie now? Is it not?
Munich is your favorite YouTube film essayist's favorite Spielberg movie.
Pretty much.
I still just don't think it can hold a candle to Saving Private
Ryan.
No,
nothing's holding it. Saving Private Ryan is what you see on the back of every DVD for the newest war movie. There's something Saving Private Ryan is. That's what it always gets compared to. Always.
Yeah, I mean, people like to say that Saving Private Ryan losing the Best Picture Oscar to Shakespeare in Love is the worst Best Picture tragedy of all time. I think
bit.
that's for a reason. People really, really think Saving Private Ryan's great. I do too. Jaws.
Vin Diesel's in it. That's crazy.
Jaws versus Twilight
Jaws.
Zone. Yeah, I don't think we have to argue about that one. Jaws is a classic. Close Encounters of the Third Kind versus AI. I mean, I don't know if this is just because I'm young, because I don't want to just dismiss AI here.
What? I'm saying AI.
You're saying AI. Oh.
I'm saying AI. I know it takes like 40 hours. I know the VHS was like 3 VHS tapes that you needed to put right after another. There's something about AI. This was the movie that Kubrick was working on.
Yes.
And when he passed, he I don't know if it was from him or if it was a studio, they passed it on to Spielberg. Spielberg was the one that got the rights to it, and he finished up the movie. I know it's really long, but there's something about AI.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the Close Encounters is also kind of great with that. And
Let's argue it. Let's see. Let's discuss it. I'm gonna tell you this because I'm looking at what it's gonna go up against.
Right.
So it doesn't matter to me, if that makes any sense.
You know,
here's the thing with brackets, right?
Exactly. Sometimes you're just like fodder for the top seeds, and
right.
Either way, I think this choice is going to end up losing to Jaws. So maybe we just lean with AI because I remember it better too.
Hey, you know what? How about we put them both because they both gonna get eaten up in the next one too. So we'll leave that as a draw.
Cool.
You got one, I got the other.
All right. So going to mid-2000s Spielberg, we have Catch Me
right
If You Can versus The Terminal. Two Tom Hanks Spielberg team-ups. This is a kind of fun matchup just because I
love both of these movies.
I have a soft spot for The Terminal. I know a lot of people make fun of it, but I have a big soft spot for that movie.
I saw Terminal twice in theaters, boy. I've never craved Burger King more in my life. I've never gone quicker to an Aldi and tried to collect all of the carts to get money the way that he did in the Terminal, just so we could have money to eat. Every time I'm in a airport, that's what I always think of. I think of Tom Hanks, but Catch Me If You Can.
I think that's one of his most underrated movies.
I concur. Do you concur, sir?
I concur. It's just such a great film. It's fun. It's interesting. It tells a really unique story, and it moves super quickly. It's got great performances. I mean, one of Leo's best performances and most overlooked performances as well.
Yeah, pre-Wolf of Wall Street. Like, it's literally Wolf of Wall Street Jr.
So, I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like we got to go Catch Me If You Can. Then, in the last matchup on the left side of the bracket, we have Raiders of the Lost Ark versus 1941. Again, I don't think this is much of a contest.
Yeah, Raiders.
So, moving over to the other side of the bracket, Jurassic Park versus Sugarland Express again.
Okay. I mean...
Think we're going Sugarland?
Sorry, Jurassic Park and Sugarland all the way. Just end the bracket.
So this is another one where the rankings don't necessarily line up with my feelings. Hook, they've got at 15, and The Post, they've got at 18. I know a lot of people diss on The Post. You and I kind of like The Post.
We kind of like The Post, but I know a lot of people also like Hook. Hook is one of those where, it's
but do they, though?
It's not big with critics, but they love it, right? A lot of people.
But do they, or do they just love their childhood?
That's a good question.
Because I don't love Hook. Yeah,
I don't like Hook either. But The Post, I know the joke is that Meryl, Hanks, Spielberg,
made for Oscars,
feminism, made for Oscars, all that stuff, right? The joke at the Golden Globes was when what's his name was mentioning what the movie was, and then they come out with all the Golden Globes. But what did it win? And at the Oscars, what did it win?
Right.
And I think we've gotten to this point. I think you and I had that discussion. Tom Hanks, Meryl Streep, Spielberg make better movies than anybody else is making, but because we have them on such a pedestal, we start disrespecting them when they're coming out with good work. And I'll say this, I'm not going to say that that's a blanket for all of his movies, because I did feel that a bit for Bridge of Spies. I wasn't the biggest one for Bridge of Spies. Even less so when my boy got snubbed, because I will never forget that. But...
R.I.P. Stallone's Oscar chances.
All right, yeah, we still remember you. But The Post, and I said this after I came out watching it, the same people who love Spotlight, all of a sudden not liking The Post confuses me. It really does confuse me. Yeah. Like I had said a joke, I was like, well, if Spotlight won Best Picture and The Post is better than Spotlight, doesn't that mean it should win? And then someone said, he's like, no, that's not how it works because it's a different year. And I'm like, that's kind of opening up exactly what I'm talking about. Then we're clearly not talking about the merits of a movie. We're talking about what is the most...
topical,
socio-political
relevant.
Exactly thing going on. But The Post, I believe, is made better than Spotlight. Or, well,
And
yeah,
Hook?
definitely Hook. And definitely Hook, yeah.
All right. So let's give it to the post. Next matchup, we got Lincoln versus Bridge of Spies
I already said.
in a battle of two Spielberg movies that I kind of didn't like so much. But Lincoln's
very
actually, I think the difference is Lincoln's actually good and Bridge of Spies is not.
I'll say I'm going to go for Lincoln just because of that story that your boy DDL, Daniel Day-Lewis, was like putting on his clothes, and then he looked at his watch or something, remember?
Yeah.
And he told the costume maker, he was like, excuse me, but I'm about to be in Phantom Thread, so I know how to do this, and this wasn't created until 18 whatever, so this doesn't exist yet. And he called him out. He had to do those people's jobs, so that's how into character he was.
The next matchup, The Lost World versus Amistad, the Jurassic Park follow-up.
Yeah.
I actually haven't seen Amistad, so I can't really comment, but
I mean,
I don't think there's a lot of people that are taking it over Jurassic Park: The Lost World.
I'm not the biggest fan of Jurassic Park: The Lost
either.
World. It's funner than Amistad, I would say. But I remember Amistad as being that movie we had to watch freshman year. Mm-hmm. Matthew McConaughey, like up in that place.
Yeah.
I really don't care. I'll say The Lost World. I do think Amistad is the better film, but
Yeah, this little section of the bracket I'm not feeling so hot on.
Yeah.
But should we just go to The Lost World? I think more people would want us to go to The Lost World.
I don't care what people want, but I'm going to go Lost World anyway.
Now, I don't understand this placement at all. They have Kingdom of the Crystal Skull as the number 3 seed. Going up against Empire of the Sun. So, kind of a lucky draw.
Wait, why we don't like Crystal Skull? Is that a thing? y'all don't like my boy going into a refrigerator?
The fridge? Nuke the fridge?
Yeah.
Bro. That being said, I actually haven't seen Empire of the Sun. It's one of my Spielberg blind spots.
That is one of the only ones I haven't seen either.
Yep.
Right? That's the one with the kid.
Yeah.
Like right in front of the sun.
Is Christian Bale in that one? I think Christian Bale's in that one.
The best way I'm going to put it to you is this way, right? Empire of the Sun, as I'm looking here, Empire of the Sun and Adventures of Tintin are the two that I have not seen. So
right.
Crucify me if you want, even though I've seen the rest of them. But right. I'm looking again, as we deal with brackets, you always look at this. Instead of spending so much time in one, Crystal Skull, Empire, don't matter to me, because this next one.
Right. So we have Minority Report going up against War Horse. No. I'm not going to make my feelings sit in. I hate War Horse. I think it's really bad. So even if I didn't like Minority Report, I'd go for War Horse. But I think Minority Report is super dope and underrated.
I don't know how to explain this to you. Minority Report may win this bracket for me. If you don't put a good debate for some of these other ones, I'm going to tell you that right now, Minority Report.
We'll get back to Minority Report soon. Temple of Doom versus Adventures of Tintin. You just mentioned you haven't seen Adventures of Tintin. I haven't seen
Tintin, so if you got...
I have, and I don't really have much of an argument for it, especially not over Temple of Doom.
Now, this is very interesting, because as soon as I came out of Ready Player One, someone said, so do you like Adventures of Tintin then? Like, some guy was having an argument. Mm-hmm. So I guess Adventures of Tintin and that style goes hand in hand with Ready Player One.
There is like that action-adventure, like, kind
CGI
of suited for younger kids.
Yeah.
I don't think Tintin is bad. The Temple of Doom is really good. Temple of Doom is iconic. Temple of Doom has multiple scenes that you know exactly what happens even if the sound is off. You know?
I'm going to pick it because I think that's one of the better franchises.
Yeah.
And just as a whole, so I'm going to put that there.
And then in our last first round matchup, it's War of the Worlds versus Always. I'm
picking War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
Unless you had something to say about Always, but I don't care about that. Always was one of those movies that it's not the same as Bridges of Madison County, but for whatever reason, every time I went to Blockbuster, I for whatever reason thought Bridges of Madison County, I can't remember the other one that was also similar to that, but I was just like, it's just the old people going in the middle of nowhere. But War of the Worlds, to me, I don't know what the consensus is about War of the Worlds, but growing up and recently having seen it back when I was in film school, I adore the heck out of that movie.
It's become underrated because so many of his movies are great.
Yes. The alien design, that scene in the van, the one-take scene in the van, yeah.
Good-ass movie. Anyway, heading into the second round, our first matchup is E.T. versus Schindler's List. Battle of two of Spielberg's big classics. And, I gotta say, even though Spielberg got his Oscar for Schindler's List and it's really beloved by the critical community, I just feel like E.T. has this impact on so many kids and in design and in culture that it's almost hard to deny it as the winner in this matchup.
Ain't you Jewish?
I know, man.
I'm
but-
picking Schindler's. How can you pick E.T. over Schindler's List?
Okay, so let's talk about this then.
All right, let's talk about this. This is where we get into it.
Because, like, I think Schindler's List is a really great movie and a really admirable film. But I don't necessarily feel like it's doing a whole lot that we haven't seen replicated by other filmmakers in other films. There's the bit with the red coat that ended up being pretty influential, and there's like a lot of... And the cinematography in general is really beautiful in the movie. I think E.T. is the formula, though, for basically every kid meets a weird thing movie that has come since then. It set up this whole genre, and it's...
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
To
More
me,
quotable.
I don't know, man. I always quote, one more. Just one more. All the time. I would fight for Schindler's List. Again, I'm going to play the bracket thing, and I'll side with you because E.T. is on the Amblin logo. Not recently. Yeah. For whatever reason, it got taken off the most recent one. But he's the one on the Amblin logo, right? People like Stranger Things. I'm going to say it because they like E.T.
Right.
I don't know how else to tell you. Like, seriously, watch any video talk about Easter eggs for season 1 of Stranger Things. It's literally, I kid you not, E.T. Oh, E.T. go over the trucks. Okay, we're not stealing. What's that? What's the meme? Can I copy your homework? Sure, but don't make it seem too obvious.
Right.
Okay, let's not hop over the truck. Let's have the truck hop over.
It's crazy. I mean, like, maybe I'm losing some of my Jewish street cred by not going Schindler's List, which is a really good movie. But like,
I would go, but I'll go with E.T. mainly because, again, I'm playing the bracket game and I know what's going to beat it later.
All right, so we got The Last Crusade up against Saving Private Ryan. This one's hard for me, too. Which one are you going with?
Bro, Saving Private Ryan.
Really?
Are you kidding me? I already know my final two.
You do?
I know my final two. I already mentioned what the other one was, and I'm making it obvious.
You know what? I'm sorry. I'm mixing up Raiders and Last Crusade. Yeah, it's not hard for me. Not hard for me at all. Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, 1000%.
Okay, then we go with the Jaws versus
AI Close Encounters.
Let's mash up Close Encounters and AI, and they
both
still
movies, right?
can't beat
You
Jaws.
got that Target combo set, and you still picking Jaws.
Yeah. It's just, Jaws is so many horror movies now. It's just it launched the blockbuster film era. It's so, just the music and the design and the cinematography. There's so much about it that's...
The script, all of it. I said I'm going to the beach. I don't like the beach.
All right, so I think this is an actually interesting matchup. Got Catch Me If You Can versus Raiders of the Lost Ark. So, Raiders, I mean, that's the movie that...
For you?
It is a lot of people's kind of like iconic Spielberg film. It's that Harrison Ford swaggering adventure thing, and it's got a lot of very iconic moments in it. I think I'd rather rewatch Catch Me If You Can.
Okay.
I would go Catch Me If You Can. Just slightly.
So
just
would
barely.
I, but I was willing to have you sway me, so I'm glad you don't have to. Because
I'm a little worried that this is just like us being younger bias coming through.
No. What? Well, no. How is that a bias coming through? If anything, it would be a bias if we were raised with Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think
because then we're choosing it because it's a childhood thing.
True. I mean, I think for me that Catch Me If You Can was kind of like an iconic Leo role and just kind of like just really cool formative film. And
I saw it later. I saw it way after its release at Blockbuster, so that's why I can clearly say. But
here's one thing I will definitely give for Catch Me If You Can. Way better intro titles.
Oh, I'll say another thing for Catch Me If You Can. Amy Adams looks hot in braces.
Yeah, weird.
So weird, but it's true. Either way, again, playing the bracket game. Do you just want to finish out this one, or do you want to go to the second round on the other one?
We can go second round on the other one. What do you think?
All right. Yeah, let's do the second one on the other one.
All right, we'll do it pretty quick. Jurassic Park versus The Post.
Jurassic Park.
Obviously. Lincoln versus The Lost World?
I'm saying Lincoln, but it don't matter.
I'm saying Lincoln as well. I mean, yeah, we're not the biggest Lost World fans. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
/ Empire of the
Sun somehow made it into the second round.
Minority Report. That's going all the way for me.
Minority Report is a underrated Spielberg gem. War of the Worlds and Temple of Doom, I think, is one of our more interesting second round matchups. Temple of Doom is I think arguably the best Indiana Jones movie. It's got some of the most iconic moments of the franchise. I think a lot of times people talk about
It's the Two Towers. It's the Two Towers of the group. I know maybe some people don't like Two Towers out of the three either, but putting it out there.
No, yeah, but it kind of like has the most going for it in a way, right. Whether it's Short Round or it's the boulder scene or whatever have you. I don't know.
So you'd put it over War of the Worlds? Because this is where I actually would say my bias comes into play. Because this was a movie I did see in theaters. This was a movie that I still love to this day. And I rewatch a bunch of movies just to see that I truly love it. Is it nostalgia? Is it a bias or whatever it is? And then I go, oh, okay.
The thing
this one still wins me over, man. Sound design, everything.
You know what, though? Like, this is the intercut bracket.
Right?
I think we got to go War of the Worlds.
Good. Okay, I thought for a second you were gonna say Temple of Doom because I'm willing to defend War of the Worlds with one simple thing. Remember, I don't know if you heard about it. Him saying it was like the 9/11 movie.
Yeah.
About how it's like people invading and they were always underneath. They were in our soil the whole time, and I was like, oh, okay. It's a whole other interesting discussion that comes with it, in my opinion. So. Yeah.
All right, so we are into the quarterfinals. That's all good movies from here. E.T. versus Saving Private Ryan. Where are you going to go? I've put myself out there for E.T.
You know who I'm going for, man. I'm going all the way to the end. I'm going all... You said it. The biggest upset in Oscars history. To this day, they talk about it that way. The opening scene and the handhold and the way that they shot it, the sound design, it is... Band of Brothers was because of this, right?
Yeah.
This started so many careers for so many of the people who are in this movie.
Yeah.
And then Band of Brothers was... And he executive produced it. Spielberg. Band of Brothers did the same thing. Go watch Band of Brothers and go, Tom Hardy, James McAvoy, what? All these people that came out of Band of Brothers and spawned all of those careers, this movie did it first. Yeah. It's the movie that keeps on giving. All these people are in bigger and better things, and E.T., she's in Santa Clarita Diet. Okay, that part's mean.
That was
E.T.'s still good. That's a little mean.
Okay, I will say for E.T. that I think for a certain segment of the population, it is a more beloved movie than
no doubt.
Saving Private Ryan. But I think Saving Private Ryan is a more universally respected, admired, inspirational or derived from movie. I don't know. It's hard for me to not go Saving Private Ryan, I guess, in this matchup. We talked a bit about I talked a bit about what I liked about Dunkirk in the way that it kind of shows the horror of war without showing the bloodshed. Saving Private Ryan's kind of the opposite. It shows the horror of war by showing you the bloodshed.
Bro, when that man picks up his arm, like he ain't got no arm, he goes, "This is my arm." He picks it up.
Yeah.
So many people imitate that. And don't get me wrong, E.T. would make it all the way too. Like in somebody else's bracket, it probably would. If you really want to, convince me about it, yeah. But both of these movies, it just shows, right? We're at that point in the bracket where either one can go.
Yeah.
Literally either one can go. And
only good
Spielberg.
Options.
It shows you why he's influential.
Jaws versus Catch Me If You Can. So, look, if this was like the bracket of what you want to watch right now, I might go Catch Me If You Can. I'm not going to argue that Catch Me If You Can is the better movie. Are you?
What are you saying? Are you trying to toss it at me?
I mean, I don't know if I'm brave enough to go Catch Me If You Can here because I do love Jaws.
Zach, this is you right now. I'm not saying I want to go out for drinks, but I mean like if you go out for drinks, I'm available.
Convince me if you want to because Jaws is so good. I don't know if I can do this.
Catch Me If You Can, I think, is the more enjoyable one out of the bunch.
All
I'm
right.
saying it.
All
I'm
right.
not saying is it better than Jaws? I cannot say that. I can definitely. This is probably one of the most difficult ones out of the bunch, mainly because.
Oh yeah.
But that's top 5. No, that's top 5.
Yeah.
I would argue top 3 all-time best scores, and it's just Two
notes.
Yeah, it ain't this whole orchestra that you need for Star Wars. It ain't not even with Raiders.
Okay, let's try this a different way. Which do you think has more iconic moments?
Jaws.
Yeah.
It's Jaws. But Catch Me If You Can, I feel like if more people had seen it, if more people ain't seen the edited version on TBS, then maybe it would get more love. That's the thing about it.
Yeah.
And it really would. So I will say this. Catch Me If You Can is the one movie that I'm telling you on the camera right now. Go watch it and catch it if you can. But I'm going to go Jaws.
Yeah. I'm with you there. Like, if this was March Madness, I want Catch Me As You Can. Catch Me As You Can as my,
right?
That's my Cinderella seed right there.
Exactly.
Like, I believe that one can make it, but
it's
I don't
Loyola, and Loyola got out at this point in the bracket.
Yeah, once it meets Michigan, man, it's over. It's over.
So, got 8 up.
Going with Jaws. Jurassic Park versus Lincoln. I think this is also a relatively easy one, although Lincoln is well loved. I don't think it's nearly as widely loved as Jurassic Park.
Nope.
And then Minority Report versus War of the Worlds. I mean, I know which way you want to go, I think. I think this is actually kind of an interesting one because this is the...
I love them both.
The premier late career Spielberg action stuff, right? Like this is post his real world Saving Private Ryan stuff. This is very like the CGI, like looking to the future action Spielberg, and I think he does very different but interesting things in both of these movies. I think Minority Report is the more unique and compelling of the two. I think it does a lot that things both in movies and in the real world have lifted from. And I think
1000%. I feel like I mention Minority Report every other month in one of my videos.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I feel like it's just got that place in people's minds that I gotta go Minority Report here. All right, we are into the semifinals. 4 big movies left. Saving Private Ryan versus Jaws. Jaws almost got eliminated, almost was upset. Can it pull it out versus Saving Private Ryan?
I would like to remind you all that I'm very curious to know your guys' opinions down below in the comment section. I know some
please
of you guys
let us
are
know.
This
is our bracket.
Flipping out, this is our bracket, and I have nothing but respect for my Saving Private Ryan. I have to. Saving Private Ryan is one of the movies. I know it's angsty. I know for a lot of people, this is the other side of the coin for the Fight Club debate. You know, Fight Club has to. It's so overrated at this point, and it's just a bunch of. It's the dude movie, right?
Yeah.
This is like Fight Club.
It's a very dude movie.
The dude movie. And a lot of people see it like that, and I hate that because it very underappreciates the craft that goes into this movie, even with the toned down color correction, with the way that the story is told, all the way up to the ending. There's literally only one part in the movie that I don't like, and that's when Matt Damon, tells his story.
Yeah.
That's it. It's the one part I don't like in the movie. I really do not care for that part. Everything else I would not cut out.
I have one argument, I think, in favor of Jaws.
All right.
Name your second favorite shark movie.
Name your second favorite Ryan movie.
I get it. Saving Private Ryan.
Meters down. Which one would it say? The Blake Lively one.
Look, I get it. Saving Private Ryan is very, very, very good. It is also from a genre full of really intense, great movies. And Spielberg did something that I don't think anybody has necessarily even done since with Jaws. I don't know, man. Is this Jaws' category, or do we have to go Saving Private Ryan? Because I like Saving Private Ryan a lot too, but I'm just thinking about the scratching on the chalkboard and the feeding Chum into the water, and then he shows up. There's all the moments. I'll say
this. I haven't seen Jaws in a bit, right? And maybe is the fact that I have 2, 3, and 4 in my mind since I've seen that one.
Right.
But you make a good point. You really? Over Ryan?
If you feel more strongly about it, I'll go Saving Private Ryan.
Look, I feel like there's nothing to say about Saving Private Ryan not being watched or whatnot. I feel like that is definitely I think it's interesting because the more that we age, I feel like I don't know if that's in the top of the list for people to watch. But as I was getting into movies, that was on the top of the list for people to watch. Right? I want to say it's still there.
I think so too.
I want to say it's still there, but I don't know because times have changed, right? I saw all of these movies. I saw it because of the blockbuster era. Yeah. I went in there. He said, "Here's your Spielberg list. Go watch them," and I did. And that's when I saw a majority of these right there. Catch Me If You Can, Minority Report, Saving Private Ryan, Munich, a bunch of these that were here, right?
Yeah.
Jaws is more iconic than Saving Private Ryan. Jaws doesn't get called the dude movie. Mm-hmm. I get that. Mm-hmm. I will forever say Saving Private Ryan. But as the Spielberg bracket, I'll say Jaws. Because it ain't winning this next one.
Yeah. Okay. So as we get into it, Jurassic Park versus Minority Report. Now, I think that if this was like any other field, we would know what would win this matchup. Like if this was any other two people, Jurassic Park goes ahead and takes this. But like, this is our bracket.
It's our bracket.
We're in charge.
We are in charge.
I dig the hell out of Minority Report. I really, really like that movie.
I really love Minority Report.
And I think that it just is so underrated. I don't know. I don't know if I feel the same way about Jurassic Park as a lot of other people do. I know I could probably give that same name your second favorite dinosaur movie argument here, but I think there's a limit to what Jurassic Park does well, and I think it's a thing that a lot of other movies do well too. I don't think there's a lot of movies that do the kind of playing with your mind, playing with your idea of the future, playing with your morality, really introducing unbelievable production design and CGI the way that Minority Report did. So I'm gonna go Minority Report.
Look, I'm gonna bash Jurassic Park. I saw Jurassic Park 3D in IMAX when it got re-released, and it lives up to the hype and everything. Like I still think it's a fantastic movie. 3 times a year. I'm not even kidding you because I've counted it since 2015, in 2016, and 2017, and I've already seen it multiple times. It already filled a quota of 3 times that it's been referenced. Mm-hmm. The water cup jiggling as something comes to attack. In every movie, drama, comedy, that is referenced.
Even Inception.
Inception even takes it. It's in everything. I'm gonna put you this ultimatum here because we're at this point where it don't really matter. I am of that belief. You can't pick one over the other. At the end of the day, we get to keep all these movies and watch them all the time. Mm-hmm. If we're picking Minority Report is winning. That is the only way I'm picking Minority Report. Minority Report is winning. I can see Jurassic Park being the number one in this thing as well. Seeing at the end of this, Jurassic Park as the winner of the Spielberg bracket, I'm more than fine with. Seeing Minority Report and getting those people who have been like, I haven't seen that one yet. I haven't seen that one yet. If these boys said it's that good, then maybe we're saying something. And I, for one, I'm not just saying it for the fact that I want to be different. I'm saying it for the fact that I'm looking at Minority Report right there as I own it on DVD and Blu-ray.
Right, and that comes down to, like, look, these are our opinions and taste and
facts.
Things change.
Minority Report over Jurassic Park. Let's get into these finals. Okay. Minority Report versus Jaws.
Shoot.
One's in the past. Are you ready for it? You know when Minority Report came out? I'm going to search it up real quick just to make sure. But I want to say 2003.
Something like that.
2002. This helps my point even more. Minority Report came out in 2002. Watch it right now in the year of our Lord 2018. Why does it feel like it was made in the future?
It's
if
really
I'm lying,
interesting.
I'm dying. If I'm lying, I'm dying. Watch Jaws now. It feels
even
vintage.
The discussions that I think we're having now when it comes to law enforcement are still relevant to the way that Minority Report was discussing them. I think there's a really interesting documentary I saw on HBO a year or two ago called Thought Crimes, which is basically the Minority Report idea, except a real documentary about a dude in the NYPD. I don't know, man. Like, you know, what we're talking about here is really 2 big iconic moments in Spielberg's career. Jaws launching the blockbuster era,
that is true.
creating a whole new genre of these horror movie of these creature horror movies, basically. versus Minority Report being this really underrated but really forward-looking, beautifully designed film that I think, I think there's an argument to be made that Jaws influenced more good movies, but Minority Report is more influential to movies right now.
Yes, that's a very good point to make. You brought up a great point. No one was able to take the idea of the shark and make a better movie with it. It did, however, spawn blockbusters. And by spawning blockbusters, you have this whole new market of films. And I don't see many of them hitting as hard as the influence that Minority Report has been able to do. And I truly mean it when I say Minority Report to this day, if you were to watch it, it feels futuristic. We talk about albums. I was listening to some albums from 2011. I'm like, this sounds dated already, right? We see that with music all the time, that it sounds dated of an era. Minority Report does not feel like that. The ideas do not feel like that. The visuals do not feel like that.
Yeah, and that's really something special. Particularly considering, like, I think there's CGI from the mid-2000s that looks really gross already. And
yeah.
That this is not one of those is kind of a big deal. I don't know. So this is our bracket. I keep saying it again, and I think for that reason alone, maybe we gotta go Minority Report. It's
Minority Report.
It lines up with our interests and values, and it's what we want people to go check out and see, because I think that's one of his most underwatched movies. Everybody's seen Jaws.
Everybody's seen Jaws.
And look, yeah, if you are watching this and you haven't seen Jaws, then you're ignoring a lot of other people's recommendations as well as our own. Yeah. Other people will tell you to watch Jaws. We're telling you go check out Minority Report.
Because this is factual. It is 100%. Trump is putting it in a decree tomorrow. These ain't opinions. Minority Report, like The Godfather 2 over Godfather, is the greatest Spielberg movie of all time.
Can you imagine if we put this out as a list?
And your list, I'm curious. I'm curious to know. Jurassic Park could have been a winner. E.T. could have been a winner. Schindler's List is always a winner. Jaws is a winner. That's what happens when you are such an iconic director. And such an iconic director, that's why you get chosen to make things like Ready Player One. That is literally paying homage to all of your contemporaries.
Yeah, this dude's got like 10, 20 all-time movies. So it's not exactly an easy discussion to decide on. So that's our Spielberg bracket. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. What would you have winning? What would you have beating out Minority Report? Any of the movies that we had going up against Minority Report actually better than Minority Report, and we don't know it? Let us know down below. We will move on. We want to get into our next bracket. It's the A24 bracket. A24 has put out a lot of my favorite movies, Art's favorite movies over the past few years. It's kind of come onto the scene really hot and with a very cool indie tone, but these are really interesting movies from really interesting filmmakers, and it's another one of the brackets that's kind of been making the rounds on Twitter, so we felt like we'd tackle this one head first and get a chance to talk about some of our favorite movies also from the past few years. So let's start it off with the first matchup. This one should go relatively quick, I think. It's Lady Bird versus Morris in America. Or Morris from America, excuse me.
Have you seen Morris from America?
I haven't, but I've heard great things about it. It's one that I've been meaning to catch up with. But yeah, nothing that I've heard about it suggests it's anywhere on the level of Lady Bird.
I haven't seen both. I can tell you it's nowhere on the level of Lady Bird, so definitely Lady Bird.
The next matchup is between 20th Century Women and Swiss Army Man. Now, I think 20th Century Women was actually kind of an overlooked movie. I think there are elements to that movie that are really fun and well told and creative, but Swiss Army Man is like one of the most ingenious,
good. All right, good.
creative, unique comedies of the last 20 years or something. Yeah. I don't know. I love agree. The Daniels, the directors.
20th Century Woman, it's well told, I guess. I'm not a fan of it. I can't say I'm a fan of it. You know my position on a specific dinner scene and menstruation and all that stuff. I am not a fan of it. Swiss Army Man, when I first saw it, I said, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Then I thought about it and I said, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. To this day, it's in a commercial. Yeah,
the montage song. It's lasting the movie.
It's outlasted the movie. I don't even know what the commercial, but it's a nationwide commercial. It is bigger than you think it is. Daniels themselves, I don't know why they haven't made something in a bit. I think they've been working on some online
they're
stuff.
working on a new project that I think Joe and Anthony Russo are also producing. So
okay.
it should be interesting.
Right. No, definitely Swiss Army Man. It's not. I don't think it's weird for the sake of being weird. It seems like it many times, but I think it's very authentic when you see their work.
Yeah. I think I've actually did a kind of look at some of their music videos, and it's interesting.
Music videos are dope.
Look at what they've done.
Yeah.
They've kind of been building to Swiss Army Man in an
Exactly.
interesting way. So
They're
really creative, fun filmmakers.
They did the, what's it called, Turn Down for What video?
Yes.
And one of my favorites is the one that they did for Manchester Orchestra, I think is the name of the band.
Yeah.
I love that song, and I love that music video.
Yeah. So
and how they filmed it is really cool, too.
So definitely check out Swiss Army Man if you haven't. Our next matchup, I actually think this is an interesting discussion. It Comes at Night versus Obvious Child. These are two movies that I would say are not loved by many, but have their fair share of fans, like people who genuinely like both movies and think both movies are doing interesting things. One of our first intercut videos was actually us discussing It Comes at Night and the ways that we thought the movie exceeded its marketing and kind of was done wrong by its marketing. I'm someone who actually likes Obvious Child a lot, thinking that, it's really an interesting take on something that is a common social taboo and really looks at it in a genuine way. So I'm a little bit divided here, but I feel like I might go Obvious Child. What about you?
Listen, I don't adore any of these movies. I do think they both suffer from that. It Comes at Night with the trailer in the way that it was marketed, and that's why so many people don't like it. Obvious Child with the obvious issue that a lot of people they don't want to deal with it at all. I think they both tackle it. They both tackle it well. Again, playing the bracket game. I'm okay with you choosing whichever. I personally would pick It Comes at Night. And I personally am very curious to see, I don't know if it ended up in the cut, but that deleted scene from the trailer that they show a bit with the house on fire. The one that Joel Edgerton says is his best performance ever given in that scene, and then it got cut out of the movie. I'm very curious to see that. And even more so, I'm more curious to see the follow-up from that director than from the director of Obvious Child. I don't know if they did Landline, but I did prefer Landline, and I know that it has Jenny Slate in it. I don't know if it's the same director, though.
Same director.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay, well then I'm still more interested. I'm still more interested in It Comes at Night's director.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's worth noting that I think there's a lot more. I'm much more interested in his career. What's his name? It's not John David Mitchell, is it?
That's the guy from It Follows.
Oh yeah. But for whatever it's worth, I mean, It Comes at Night is a really interesting movie. One that I've probably thought of more since I saw it than since Obvious Child, even though I maybe liked Obvious Child a little bit more.
There's a lot to chew on it, but I would say if you did like Obvious Child, which it'll win it for this one, but I would definitely check out Landline.
Nice. Okay, so let's give that one to Obvious Child. Trey Edward Schultz, by the way.
There we go. That's the man. That's the boy.
It Comes at Night director.
Deep voice.
We move on to a really good matchup between Amy and Good Time. Amy is the Oscar-winning, I believe, documentary about the late Amy Winehouse. It at least was nominated, right?
Yeah, I know it was nominated. Pretty sure it was nominated. I don't know about it winning. But it's interesting that A24 is even delving into documentaries, too, which I think is really cool. And it was a good one.
Yeah. This comes from the same guy who directed, what was the Brazilian race car driver movie? Jeez. Asif Kapadia is the guy who directed it.
Of course. Yeah, the man, yeah.
No, it's there. He directed
he did
Senna,
have it.
which is
you
really
doubted
good.
yourself. You
I
doubted yourself and you should have.
I gotta go with my heart. Yeah, he directed Senna. But even though Amy is a really well-liked or loved, I guess, by some documentary, I mean, I gotta go with Good Time, not just because
I'm
it's
Good
recent.
Time, too.
I really, really enjoyed that movie. It's one of Robert Pattinson's best performances, and it's got a really cool look to it. I'm big in the tank for that movie.
The worst part about Good Time is how many people hyped it up. Which it needs to be, because then people wouldn't have seen it, right? People
Right.
aren't going to give it a chance unless it's hyped up. The part about it is that if it gets too hyped up, and especially when you let the hype build because you're waiting on the movie to come out on DVD, it ends up ruining it for you. Which is why I always say watch the movies as soon as you can, especially if you're a film lover and you want it to be untainted at all. Because I remember going into it with so much hype, and then I was like, did it live up to it? And then I slept on it, and I was like, nah, that is a good movie.
Yeah,
that is
I
a
think
good movie.
That's like the Lady Bird conundrum, right? You know, Lady
Yes.
Bird's kind of a small story,
So
and everybody
much
was like
hype yeah.
hyping it up for Oscars and stuff. And it's a great movie. It's just not like a huge story or anything.
Exactly. That's what makes it so good.
Yes.
And then it gets overshadowed because of a good time, definitely.
Another interesting matchup: Ex Machina versus Slow West.
I'm not wasting my time with this one. Let's move on.
Going straight to Ex Machina.
I am not a fan of Slow West in any. I love how it looks.
Yeah.
I love how it looks.
Slow.
Ex Machina all the way.
All right.
Unless you have a rebuttal.
No, I don't have one. I'm a huge
good.
Ex Machina fan. I think it's a much better movie. Most Violent Year versus A Killing of a Sacred Deer. I love my boy Yorgos.
I know you do.
He's a really, really interesting dude. But man, A Most Violent Year, it might be J.C. Sandor's best movie. It's got a great Oscar Isaac performance.
His best
great
Jessica Chastain performance.
I think
Before
that movie
Molly's
is
Game.
super slept on. I feel like it's a modern day Godfather or something. I mean, maybe that's too much.
I ain't going that far, but I get what you're saying. I follow your
Yeah.
sentiments. In terms of mobster movies,
Yeah,
that is one of the
yeah.
ones definitely up there, while other ones like Black Mass and I don't know, any other mobster movies. We haven't gotten a good mobster movie in a while. This
Yeah,
would have been one of the
that's
most
the
recent
closest
ones.
to it.
That's the closest one that we've gotten. So
yeah, I like that one a lot. I'm going with Most Violent Year also.
Yeah.
So here's where we got
Here's
for my boy
where we got to go
Yorgos.
a little bit. Yeah, this is the one
The
I'll agree with
Lobster
you.
versus Green Room. Now, I'm a little bit disappointed that I'm not going to be able to show a little more love to Green Room, a really fun, action-heavy Jeremy Saulnier movie where a band gets trapped in a punk neo-Nazi club and has to fight their way out. I mean, that's a really fun movie to watch with a bunch of friends and a bunch of beers. I would suggest watching that if you haven't. But man, The Lobster's so good.
It is. But so is Green Room.
Oh, interesting.
Green Room is pretty dope. The whole aesthetic of Green Room. It's got Aaliyah Shawkat in it. They get the one scene with the hand. Evil Charles Xavier.
Yeah. And one of the last really great Anton Yelchin performances too.
Exactly. And the whole shootout, when the shootouts happen, I don't wear red laces. I avoid those any way I can. Anytime I see black boots outside, I walk the other way. And the ending. At first I was like, really, that's the ending? And I thought, I'm like, oh, that's actually the abruptness of it is beautiful. If I'm not mistaken, is Ramona Flowers in this movie? Isn't she in the beginning? I think she's in the beginning for a little bit. If I'm mistaken, I'm mistaken. But I think she's the girl who starts the incident. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm not so sure about that.
Maybe I'm not so sure. Maybe I'm just thinking about her. But yeah.
So look, The Lobster though. Let's talk about this because
I know.
The Lobster got an Academy Award nomination for Best Screenplay. People were talking about it as this, really inventive comedy, one of the most inventive looks at relationships and why I don't know, man. It's I think it's hitting on more levels than Green Room's hitting on for me.
See, for me, it goes for Yorgos. It goes Dogtooth.
Yeah.
Dogtooth second watch. The Dogtooth discussions. Then The Lobster. And Killing ain't on there.
Yeah, I was waiting.
No. Give me one more. Give me one more thing about why The Lobster. Convince the people and I to be on your side. Because I'm on for it. I like The Lobster. I remember watching The Lobster, getting sucked into it. That is where Yorgos, if you don't know his style, it works great. Both of his the first two big features, it works great. It does not work for me in Killing of a Sacred Deer, but. Yeah,
and I'll say that I agree with that. It's not as on point in Killing of a Sacred Deer. I feel like The Lobster, the first half of that movie has some of the darkest, funniest moments of any comedy in the last few years. I think that the way that it actually reflects on society and is a social satire, is the kind of look at relationships that hasn't really been done. And I don't know if I feel as much resonance from Green Room. It's a fun time, but Lobster's kind of fun too. I don't
John
know.
C. Reilly's in it, right?
In what?
Isn't John C. Reilly in it?
John C. Reilly, Colin Farrell, Rachel Weisz,
Who's
Ben
the one
Whishaw.
who bleeds? Who's the one who bleeds?
Ben Whishaw.
Okay.
Oh, and lesser known, the girl from The End of the Effing World is the girl that Ben Whishaw ends up with.
Ain't that illegal? Holy shit.
She's much older than she looks. She's like 27.
Oh. Ain't that still illegal for End of the Effing World then? Alright, I'll go to the Lobster.
We can go Green Room, man. I like Green Room a lot too.
Hey, you know what? It's about relationships. I'll give you this one. I'll leave the
cool.
neo-Nazis.
I feel like you've been giving me a lot, but I don't know,
That's
man.
fine.
I'll go with the Lobster.
But I swear, if we argue on this next one, I ain't giving it to you.
All right, so Room versus American Honey. We got Brie Larson versus Sasha Lane and Shia LaBeouf.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going American Honey. No, sorry, I just wanted to see your face. I'm going the Room. I'm going Room. It's not the
Good.
Room.
Not that room, because that would have been the bracket.
That's
would
a
be
whole
over.
other discussion.
Yo, okay,
yeah. I mean,
It's good. It's great.
I don't
think
love Room, but I think it's a better movie than American Honey.
Really, you don't love Room?
No, I mean, I think Brie Larson and the other performances are really excellent, and that's most of
That's
what.
Sir Jacob Tremblay to you, okay?
And that's most of what works for me. I think there's some interesting things in it, but I don't know. I wanted a little bit more from it.
I think the worst part of the movie is the trailer, and what ruined it for me, I wasn't even watching. I was walking by. It was the cinema. You know, like when you're in the theater and they play the trailers outside. It ruined it for me, and I was like, "Wow, I did not need to know outside of the title." You know what I mean? It would have been a lot more impacting to not know what happens over a third way. Exactly. But when they do get to that point and more characters are introduced, I like that dynamic between the mom and her. Mm-hmm. I thought that was very interesting. And it's very subtle because they never get into the idea of like, well, I feel like this and I feel like that. It's you're seeing the reactions of how one of them now wants to be way overprotective because they're trying to make up for lost time. Right. And the other one's also trying to make up for lost time. But they also have literally, 8-9-year-old?
Yeah.
Who they're trying to take care of. Let's talk about American Honey because I think you might like it a bit more than I do.
Yes.
I'm not the biggest fan of it because I feel a lot of scenes can be cut. I get the idea of the natural feel to it, that it feels so authentic, so real, and I do. What's the actress's name?
Sasha Lane.
She has a future.
Oh yeah. We've both seen Cameron Post now, and she's great in that too. Sunday.
Oh, you saw Cameron Post?
Have we not talked about this?
No. When did you see it?
Okay, that's a discussion for another time.
Okay, that's a discussion for another time. But yeah, I was like, I've seen the miseducation. Oh yeah, that's the ending of the title. The miseducation of Cameron Post. That's how long it is. Yes. So we're on the same page.
Yeah.
1000%. She's fantastic.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of what works about American Honey is it's got that charisma and that energy. Like I like hanging out with those characters, but it is a fairly listless, plotless movie,
which is
and
fine.
I like movies like that. I think The Room does more.
Thank you. I'll just leave it at that. I'll say nothing more.
Moonlight versus Krisha. Look, I like Krisha a lot. You wanna go and talk about why Krisha's great before we just go ahead and give this to Moonlight?
Krisha's fantastic because, like we were just saying, we're saying that we always want to see the next of the director. The guy who made Krisha made It Comes at Night.
Right.
And that's why I'm curious to see where he goes on his next one because he literally elevates it. If you're a filmmaker, this is especially keen for you. This man spent way less than $100,000, maybe 50. It could have been even 10 for all I know. I remember just listening to his interviews on
as the lead of the film.
That's his aunt in the lead of the film. I believe he was the cinematographer for the whole thing itself. It all takes place in one room, and then still the intricacies that he put within the movie itself. The way that he framed it, and he's like, I wanted you to feel something without realizing that you were there, without cutting to it. Right. So you don't even realize it. Like, I'm that guy when I'm watching a movie, I'm like, are we zooming in a bit? So I start looking at the corners to see if things are getting cropped. This movie does it to the point where you go, when the heck did we get so close to these characters?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
it
there's
feels
a
like
lot
a
of
horror film without it being a horror film.
There's a lot of really cool filmmaker tricks in that. So I think
Exactly.
few episodes ago, we got a question, what are some good movies to watch if you want to learn more about film? Krisha's a great one because it does a lot with very little.
Exactly.
But
Very
Moonlight is
little.
Moonlight, and it's going to win this matchup.
Yeah, Moonlight's gonna go a long way. Y'all know Moonlight.
The
Y'all
next
know Moonlight.
matchup is The Spectacular Now versus Under the Skin.
Oh, we get in there. Okay.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting matchup. If I didn't like The Spectacular Now so much, I'd fight a lot harder for Under the Skin.
So you're not fighting for Under the Skin?
You want to fight for Under the Skin?
Absolutely not. I have a lot of problems with Under the Skin.
Okay.
I will say this, the more that I watch Under the Skin, the more that I like it. The more
Yeah.
that I'm like, oh, that is very interesting. And then the more that I end up watching other movies and I go, oh, okay, who cares? I'm trying to think of recently I saw an alien movie and I was, oh yeah, the little thing called Annihilation. We talked about this.
Yeah.
Ending of Annihilation, beginning of Under the Skin. Annihilation did it better.
Yeah. I mean, like, look, I think there's a lot of really interesting things going on in Under the Skin, and it's got
Definitely.
it's got maybe the best score of any
The score is the best
A24
part.
movie, and
Well-
the cinematography is also like one of the best.
Yes. In the
just
room?
the visuals of it are so compelling and unique. There's a
It
reason
is-
why other movies have.
It's better than The Spectacular Now. It really is better than The Spectacular Now. Let's not lie. It is better than The Spectacular Now. My only issue with it is the idea of I'm not a big fan of the naturalistic route that they went, where you can't even hear what's going on, right? When you have all this all this really great filmmaking and the visuals and the cinematography to it, and then you literally start using a GoPro, the frame rate is less in order to be able to catch these authentic things, and then half
Yeah.
of them you couldn't use because for whatever reason you just wanted to swindle real people. I did not get the point of that. And on top of that, I don't like the fact that the director himself, this ain't to bash the guy, but it's to bash the guy. I remember because I was there for a Q&A for it, and I know some people really like this. I am not a fan of it. I'm okay with ambiguity, but I need the director to know what he's being ambiguous about.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I need... One thing is him saying, I'm not going to tell you. Another thing I'm saying, I ain't even noticed that.
So let's talk about Spectacular Now for a quick second, though. Are you a fan of it though? Because I actually think Spectacular Now is a really solid movie.
Yeah, I'm a fan of it. I love The Spectacular. It was the first time that, what's his name, your boy Andrew Neiman, I was like, yeah, this guy, he
Yeah,
can
Miles
actually be
Teller.
likable. Yeah, because I always saw him as the jerk.
Yeah.
And for Shailene Woodley, that's my favorite Shailene Woodley performance, and I just love the whole idea of it. I remember this was one of the first movies I was going like, I want to go to Sundance.
Yeah, no, and I'm not going to spoil the twist for people who haven't seen it, but there's a twist in that movie that is really effective in a way that I did not see coming and is worth noting. So
Under
we're
the
giving it
Skin-
Spectacular Now or Under the Skin?
I'm saying it right now. Under the Skin is the better movie.
Yeah.
But I've told you my problem, and I think they're very fair problems that I have with it. It is one of the best, probably the best score out of all of these, but I'm playing the game again that it don't matter for the next bracket. So you can give it to whichever you want, my man.
Yeah, I'll give it to Spectacular Now, if only because it's the less
I
confounding
enjoy it more.
movie. I
Yeah.
would recommend Spectacular Now to more people.
That's 100% true. If you want to see Under the Skin, I say go see Annihilation.
The Bling Ring versus Enemy. Don't think we're going to take long before we give this one to our boy Villeneuve.
You can end the bracket right there.
The Disaster Artist versus The End of the Tour.
Oh, we're about to get in a fight. Please don't tell me we're about to get in a fight, because I know you like the end of the tour.
I do like The End of the Tour, but I don't know if I like it more than The Disaster Artist.
Well, since you're vulnerable right now, let me help you out, alright?
Yeah.
The Disaster Artist
Yeah.
takes the worst movie ever made and tried to make it the best movie ever made, right? Literally, it got stopped at a certain point. Even though I didn't agree with it, it got stopped because of other reasons that it couldn't make it all the way to the Oscars. But in and of itself, how many times have you seen The Disaster Artist?
I mean, only once, but I want to see
Oh,
it more.
dang it, what the heck?
No,
But you
no,
want
I-
to see it more, right?
That's a good, fair point, because I haven't seen The End of the Tour since I saw it that one time, and even though I liked it a lot, I don't know if I'm eager
don't
to
know if you wanna
necessarily
see it
see it
again.
again. It's also an interesting point you made about taking the worst movie and turning into something great, because David Foster Wallace, to a lot of people, is one of the best essayists, and I don't know if the End of the Tour is as good as his
Infinite
writing.
Jest, and yeah, it's not. That's a really great point to put in it.
So-
1000%. But The Disaster Artist is even more than that. I will agree that for a lot of people, the ending is very like, oh, it's way too happy. They Steve Jobs it. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They Steve Jobs the ending. But it works. Because the whole point that I've always seen with The Room is the fact that if this guy was able to make it and embrace the fact that it maybe wasn't the movie that he wanted it to be, but still was able to go around and show his movie. How many movies you shown in the theater?
Not as many as Tommy Wiseau.
Not as many as Tommy Wiseau, right? And this movie talks about that as long as you're making a movie with your friend and it makes it up on screen, then there's something there. But it's not just saying that what he did was right. It also tells you work with other people or else, you get something like The Room.
It's a really good movie. It's just independent of all the other things around it. It's really enjoyable, and there's a lot of interesting things about it.
Did you see the after credits?
After credits?
There's an after credits to the disaster on it. It has a little tidbit for all of you who didn't know that. So that's another reason to see it again, and it is hilarious.
Nice. Okay, next matchup, The VVitch versus Mississippi Grind. I don't...
Stop. Ben Mendelsohn in Mississippi Grind? Did you ever see it?
Yeah, man.
And what'd you think?
I mean, I thought the acting was good, but I don't remember much
Stop
else.
tiptoeing around it. Go for the witch. Let's go.
Yeah, I was going to say. The Florida Project versus Locke. Now, I think a lot of people out there really ride for Locke. I think you ride for Locke a bit, right? No?
I enjoyed the movie, but then people wrote it. Locke is always literally, I'm not even kidding with you. Locke is always the example I use when we start talking about this is the movie that you'll see at the end of the year. And then you get to the end of the year, right? Like you heard that person say it in March, and you just patiently wait.
Yeah, no one's saying it.
And then you see at the end, and you're like,
I'm listening for it.
Yeah, I'm listening for it, but you're specifically bookmarked that one person and going, but where Locke though?
Right?
That's what I see. That I call that the Locke effect. I see that with so many people nowadays, where they talk about, oh, this is the movie and it's going to give. And it's not bad to say that, right? I'm sure some people will have Black Panther. I know many people had Get Out, but a lot of people, when it came to Locke, were like, this is so innovative. This is going to, and then it happened. It's like, no.
And look, like, A Locke is a solid movie. I think it's a really interesting experiment, and
I think it's a great play.
Challenge in how limiting but using the film form in a different way. I don't think it holds a candle to the Florida Project. I thought the Florida Project was great.
Not. The Florida Project makes me want to go to the slums of Florida. I ain't going into my car. I don't get excited. Oh, man, I look like Locke. Let me tell you something about Locke since we're canceling it here. You're right. You can see it as a very good use of filmmaking with simplicity. I see it as the behind the scenes. I see it as a very good way of making use of what you got, very limited amount of time, because Tom Hardy was blowing up at this point.
Yep.
I don't know if you know the story. Have we talked about the story?
I mean, I think we might have talked about something
that the guy came in to cash the favor that Tom Hardy owed him from back in the day. He was like, hey, you blowing up right now. Let me catch you on this favor. Tom Hardy said, but I'm a little sick, and his agent said you're only gonna get him for like 2 days, and he's sick. So literally, they had to include a certain point. The medication he's taking, the Benadryl, whatever it was his literal medication.
Yeah, his character is sick because Tom Hardy was sick.
He's
driving that specific BMW because BMW gave them that car for the movie. It's an interesting.
That's fascinating.
Yeah,
I'm rooting for it as a movie though. That goes to the Florida Project.
While We're Young versus Free Fire. I think this is an easy one. I'm going While We're Young. I'm a person who rides for While We're Young harder than most people. Mm-hmm. But I don't think there's anybody that's going to really say Free Fire's like that much competition.
Free Fire came out last year?
Yeah.
That's a problem. I forgot Free Fire the week afterwards.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are in the same boat with you in that one. So I'm going While We're Young.
While We're Young.
Spring Breakers versus A Ghost Story. I'm kind of curious to know where you go with this one because I know which way I'm leaning. I don't know if I can tell you.
All right, let me start with A Ghost Story. I saw A Ghost Story at Sundance, and I truly feel A Ghost Story is one of those where people come out being more pretentious than they really think they are with the movie, and I think other people overly hate it and don't give it the time of day. I'm not a big fan of the pie scene. I get the intimacy of it. It's like watching somebody else, but there's certain feelings that you can only get in real life, right? Because we know she's acting, so we just see her acting. The idea of intruding on someone would have to be a documentary. Right. You get what I mean? Do you get what I mean? That's my issue with the pie scene, because I get what he was going for, but you do that for a real person, right? Yeah, not an actress. But it was cool. She ate the whole pie. I love the score in it. I really love the main track that was in the movie. That I believe what's his name is supposed to be singing. I love that what's his name is covered up, especially when you consider the scandals and everything he was in after winning an award. Casey Affleck. And I think one of the worst parts of the movie, it ain't the Kesha cameo, it's the guy who just tells you everything that happens in the movie.
Right.
Spring Breakers, on the other hand, I'm not going to say I loved when I first saw it. I'm not going to say my girlfriend loved watching it with me when I first saw it. But there is a specific house scene. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
That is all in one take. It's so ballsy. I'm not a fan of Harmony Korine. I really am not. But there are moments where I still to this day found myself going, Spring Break.
Look, that's the thing. Look, I'm also not a fan of Harmony Korine. I think he's a little bit of like an American Lars von Trier in a way, in that he just like makes these really like shocking, vulgar movies
For the sake of it.
Kind of for the sake of it, but
as opposed to the Daniels like we were just talking about.
Yes, but a lot of it is really memorable and kind of feels, you know, reflective of society in a way.
It does. And he said he puts it in your face.
I think if you watch Spring Breakers and view it as like the different types of girl that one, you know, modern girl would want to be, rather than these 4 different personalities, it takes on a new, real interesting layer. I think there's a lot of
for Spring Breakers, aren't you?
I think I have to, man. I kind of think I have to. You know, I think you can show me more. I think there's more interesting frames in Spring Breakers. It's the look of the movie has not really been matched. And I know Ghost Story has its own look too.
It does. It's
cool.
very cool, the whole ghostly Polaroid type thing to it.
But the way that Spring Breakers is both like satirizing and glamorizing this whole spring break culture.
I agree with you.
I think that's something that more people can relate to, or at least like relate to seeing. And man, like just stuff like James Franco's character is more popular than the movie, and the movie was fairly popular. Mm-hmm. And it you know, it's just like it's rare to see that kind of transcendence from an indie movie. Not to mention, this is the movie that got A24 started.
Are you serious?
I think this is A24's first release.
What the heck? Why? Well, that's a way to start. That's a first impression. Look, I don't mind it. I'd go with Spring Breakers. That's fine for me. Again, playing the bracket game, but also I think A Ghost Story is the better movie, and I love the idea that the Ghost Story was more of a throwaway for it. It was like I like this is that movie that we always talk about, the in between movies from the big blockbuster directors.
Exactly.
When they want to go take a break. Book of Henry was one. That I always forget the one from Avengers. What's his name? Josh Whedon's was.
That Much Ado About Nothing? Or?
Yeah, who cares about? Yeah, this one at least was a lot more style. You get what I mean? Like, this one at least felt more authentic to him. But Spring Breakers, to me, I'm okay with it going here. But if this was a Kanye bracket, Spring Breakers would be the bound 2 of the bracket. So I'm going to give it to you this one time, all right? I'm going to let you finish it on this one. But no mas.
We'll get back to it.
We'll get back to it.
Round 2, Lady Bird versus Swiss Army Man. So I'm going to go ahead and say something a little controversial. I think Swiss Army Man is a more interesting movie. I think there's a lot of really interesting things going on in that movie related to obsession and suicide and depression. And I think that the filmmaking is inventive in a way that we're not yet giving it credit for, but we might after the Daniels make a few more films. Look, I love Lady Bird. I'm going to watch that movie a bunch more, but my vote is narrowly to Swiss Army Man.
If I'm chilling with the boys, I'm putting on Swiss Army Man.
Yeah.
If I'm going out in public and I have to turn in a resume and they ask what's your favorite movie, I can't put Swiss Army Man. You know what I mean?
I
know. This isn't to say Lady Bird's a safe choice. I really do like Lady Bird. I really do. I love Lady Bird. Actually, it was in my top of the year. I did not expect to like it that much. I love the whole story of it being a mother-daughter perspective. Ba 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 ba. I'm gonna go with you as well, man. I did want to see Lady Bird go a little bit farther. I did, but I'm not. I would be lying.
See, this is why we should host a podcast.
We should host a podcast, man. There's just something about the energy. You know, like they say you can't visually show energy. This is energy.
Yeah.
There's energy in this movie. I know it's not for everyone, but you cannot deny the energy, and you cannot deny that you ain't humming that song, and that's why it's in the trailer. I do like Lady Bird, though.
Yeah. It is painful to see Lady Bird go. I think that's maybe the big upset that we're gonna have in this whole
Got
thing.
beat by a fart. Okay.
Yeah, the farting corpse movie. I cannot believe that I like the farting corpse movie more than Lady Bird, but I really do.
Toot its way to the top.
Obvious Child versus Good Time. We kind of just narrowly gave this one to Obvious Child, I think.
Right? So it has to go to the one that...
Yeah, I mean, I do
Right?
think Good Time was more exciting. I think I had it in my 7th slot in the top 10 last year. I know you didn't have it that high for you,
No.
but it's a really solid movie, and I think I'm more interested in rewatching it than I am Obvious Child.
But like we said, I want to see what Good Time the Safdie brothers have next.
Yes.
I love the way that they incorporate themselves into a movie. Like that. This is some like, forget Tarantino, forget Shyamalan. The way these guys incorporate themselves to the movie, I'm like,
It's the next level.
is that the director of this movie? Acting a fool in... Oh, it's the next level. And they almost steal their own movie. That's some incredible stuff right there. They almost steal their own movie. They have a Taika Waititi presence when they come into their own movies.
Yes.
Very excited to see what they have next. And just the performance from Robert Pattinson alone may be one of the best in this whole bracket.
So, moving on, Ex Machina versus A Most Violent Year. Now, I said I really love A Most Violent Year. I think it's a very underrated movie. I think there's something crisp and really clean and nice about Ex Machina, and it's a great little sci-fi package. I don't know. I think I narrowly go Ex Machina here, but I'm definitely swayable if you feel strongly.
I would go A Most Violent Year. Just a little bit. I'll go A Most Violent Year, mainly for the rewatch. I think, and hear me out on this, Ex Machina is very good, and I do need to see it once more now that time has passed and I haven't seen it since, what was it, 14, 15?
Yeah.
A lot of what builds up Ex Machina is whether he is or isn't
Right.
a robot or whatnot. Once you know he's not and you rewatch it again, you're waiting for those scenes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not to say they're not powerful, right? I'm not going to say that some of these other movies don't have that either.
No,
but
totally. It's the thing with thrillers is that sometimes you're no longer on the edge of your seat when you know where it's going to go.
Right, that's the thing with a thriller. With a joke, you want to hear it again. With a thriller, I'm not saying that it's not. You're still not looking at it and going like, oh, the way this is shot, the way that he's actually doing that on the screen, and even the metaphor of what it has to do, instill the realizations of what he's going through and all that. But I think that takes a little bit off of it. I'm also one of the ones that feels this. I think Ex Machina is a prequel to the real story. I've always felt that. I feel like Ex Machina is the prequel to the real story, right?
Which,
the real
in a way,
story
is kind of what makes it.
It's really
interesting.
cool. Yeah, that is very cool. Do not get me wrong.
Yeah.
I am also not a fan of the dancing. I'm not saying it's bad. So I can't say it's not that I'm not a fan of.
You don't want to tear up the fucking dance floor, man.
No, I'm sick and tired of getting this gift sent to me. Is what I'm saying. I get it. It's Oscar Isaac. I love him more than the next time. But if I tell you you want to go party or whatever, I don't want to see a gift of Oscar Isaac. I want to know where we going. I would say A Most Violent Year, but for a little bit. But
man, I'm gonna go with you. I mean, I love A Most Violent Year. I think there's a lot of stuff that's really clever and underrated about that movie, and the way that it talks about paranoia and just fear is really interesting, and it doesn't do it in a way that beats you over the head. I like I think every J.C. Chandler movie is underrated, but this one in particular, so I'm happy to go Most Violent Year.
I know a lot of people like Ex Machina, though. Like, some people, that's their winner, Ex Machina.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to inform you that it ain't for this one.
The Lobster and Room. Keep trying to say The Room. I mean, I know which way I'm going, but...
Lobster.
Yeah, you're gonna go Lobster as well?
It's more inventive, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna use the same logic that I used for the other one.
Yeah, it's just by far a more unique movie. Even
I
though
pick up
Room
new
is great.
things.
Sorry?
I pick up new things every time I watch Lobster.
Exactly. Yeah, I think you kind of can get most of what you need from one watch of The Room, and there's a lot in The Lobster. So I'm happy to go with Lobster. Moonlight versus The Spectacular Now. We talked about why we like The Spectacular Now, but I don't know.
You want me to pick?
Go ahead.
I would put The Spectacular... Oh, wait, no, it's Moonlight! Ah! It's Moonlight, dude. It's Moonlight. I've seen it. I saw Moonlight a ridiculous amount of times in 1 week because I was taking film classes, and they decided to show it. in both of the classes.
Yeah.
After I had seen it, after I had shown it to my girlfriend, after I had made a video on it, and I was just like, I had seen so much Moonlight. I was like, I've seen this so many times. And then, like, time had passed and it was on. I was like, you know, at the beginning, every is a star. I was like,
man.
Dude, there's something about this movie and the way that it's shot. It is a fantastic movie. It really is.
Yeah,
I get excited every time I see someone from the cast in another thing.
Same. I mean, there's a way that movie is able to give you these glimpses into a life that doesn't feel overbearing, but feels like really authentic to this tough experience. And it feels true, emotional, and beautiful in every turn. So
Yeah.
It's not losing yet.
That chair scene.
Oh, man, that chair scene. Enemy versus the Disaster Artist. I think this is a tough one.
That's not for me.
No?
Mm-mm.
Are you going Enemy?
Bro, I already spoiled this bracket. Look, the Disaster Artist is the one I watch with my boys. Enemy is... You know you have those few moments where it's transcendent?
Mm-hmm.
That was the last time I had it.
Yeah, I mean...
That was the last time I had it.
Watching Enemy made me want to see everything that Denis Villeneuve has done.
Watching Enemy made me apologize to every woman I've ever dealt with in my life.
It's an effective film.
Enemy is that movie that while you're watching it, you don't know why it makes you feel something, but you're like, I don't know what they're doing, but it's working.
Yeah.
Because some people don't get it when they watch it, but they feel something. There's no doubt about that. And going back to the end of the Skin Talk, because I believe they came out probably the same year.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I mean, going back to my point. I'm okay with you being ambiguous, but I need the director to know what they're talking about. And I feel Under the Skin doesn't do that. Enemy overdoes it. You want to know how much they overdo it? You know how much they overdo it. The whole spider thing? What do you make them do? What did he make them do? They signed a contract. The actor signed a contract to never reveal what the spiders actually mean. It's my personal favorite Denis Villeneuve movie, and one of my personal favorite movies of all time.
Yeah. Enemy is definitely one that needs to be caught up with if you haven't seen it. Definitely.
But Disaster Artist is so good though too. Don't get me wrong.
Another one that we're sorry to see go.
Wait, are you agreeing with me? If you don't agree with me, that's fine.
And look, I'm not as big
I know
of
I'm
an
on a bias,
Enemy fan.
but
I know there's a lot of people that like love Enemy. I don't
Yeah.
love it to that same level. I will say though, as soon as I watched it on DVD the first time that I watched it, as soon as it ended, I started it again and watched it. So,
bro, we gotta talk about it. We gotta talk about it afterwards. We'll come redo this bracket 2.0. But oh man, there's just something about Enemy. It's something about Enemy.
The Witch and the Florida Project. This one is kind of easy for me.
Go ahead.
think The Witch is cool, but it's not nearly as meaningful or beautiful to me as Sean Baker's Florida Project. So
That's fair.
yeah.
No, I'm with you. I'll go with that as well. I do think The Witch is a good movie. I'm very curious to see what Robert Eggers, I believe is his name. Very curious to see what he does next. David Eggers?
Maybe that's an author. I don't know.
I know his last name is Eggers. So Mr. Eggers, when he comes up with his next thing, I know they said he's going to work on Nosferatu. I just love his style. One of my favorite things about The Witch is these two things. Is how he shot with the trees, the specific ratio that he had for the trees. And the second one was this interview where he said, where someone asked, you know they always ask you, excuse me, what first-time advice would you give a first-time director who's working on the feature film? And he answered in the most gangster way possible. He says, I don't think I'm the person you should ask. I think you should just go out and do it. They said, why do you think that? He said, well, there's the 3 things that they tell you to never do in film school, especially as a first-time director. Do you know what those 3 things are? Don't ever work with children. Don't ever film near water. And don't ever work with animals. That is what The Witch is. That is dope.
Yeah, he's a badass, and that movie is really beautiful. I kind of want to give the edge to the Florida Project.
I'm giving it to the Florida Project.
Such a humanistic, empathetic movie. I didn't mention it, but I actually rewatched that on my flight as well. And
your 40-hour flight? Yeah.
Yeah, and just getting another look at that purple hotel and the way that so much chaos exists around the movie, but Mooney's view is so much like through it and not focusing on it. I just think it's so artfully done.
It really is. It's a nice movie.
While We're Young versus Spring Breakers. So
This is you. There's you. Go ahead. You have your fun, man.
And look, I mean, these are my picks, and I know you had your thing with Spring Breakers shouldn't go any further. I think it should go past
Over
While
We're Young?
Yeah. I kind of think so. I kind of think
Over Mrs. Watts.
I know. I love my girl Naomi. You know I love Naomi.
Over Kylo Driver and his hipsterness.
I know plagiarizing documentary filmmaker Adam Driver is a great Noah Baumbach creation. I love seeing Ben Stiller in a more serious performance. Man, Spring Break, though. It's Spring Break. James Franco in dreads. You never get that.
You do you, man. I'm just here. That's fine. I'm cool with it. Whatever.
All right.
I'm not going to fight for While We're Young. And you're right. I do quote Spring Breakers way more than While We're Young. Spring Breakers has a scene that I visually remember that. I think it has a better scene than anything of While We're Young. So
yeah. So we're moving on to our quarterfinals here. We got Swiss Army Man up against Good Time. And for me, I think it's a pretty easy win for Swiss Army Man.
we're really making that fart movie go all the way.
I know. This is Minority Report all over again.
Right. I'm good with it. I really am, because I do think Good Time's good.
Yeah.
But maybe on more rewatches, Good Time may go up there. But Swiss Army Man, there's a whole conversation piece that goes with Swiss Army Man, and I don't want to spoil it all, but it's very intriguing when you think about the ending. And Swiss Army Man does have Ramona Flowers at the end of it. That I do know.
Okay, yeah, that one's true. That I know. And then we have A Most Violent Year up against The Lobster. I think this is an interesting matchup.
I'm going to Most Violent Year, but if you
Okay,
can
cool.
really sway me on The Lobster.
I'm not going to sway you. I mean, for me, I think it's pretty even. I think The Lobster is really unique and hilarious, but like I've said before, I think A Most Violent Year is extremely underrated. The way that it sort of deals with the era and Oscar Isaac's character, I think it's just so interesting. And you can keep getting more from it on the rewatch. I'm very happy to go to Most Violent Year here.
I'm down for it. I mean, like I said, I think in terms of like, I know we were talking about one of the previous episodes about the HBO show, The Sopranos. Was it Sopranos? Sopranos coming back for another season or something like that?
Yeah, it's coming up for the movie.
I'm still excited for The Irishman, and I hope that there's something there. Yeah. And I look at it, and the closest thing that I want it to be is A Most Violent Year. So I'm okay with it going. I personally, and again, this being our bracket.
Right.
But I feel like a lot of people haven't given it the attention. So, if you're watching this and you're like, how is it getting ahead? Have you seen it? No? Give it a watch. Give it a watch.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think a lot of people really do love The Lobster, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's some people in the comments down below who are like, how do you pick this over The Lobster? I love The Lobster. That was one of my favorite movies the year that it came out. Most Violent Year, I think there's a lot there. I really want people to check that one out. Moonlight versus Enemy. I think we got to talk about this. I think we got to talk about this. I mean, these are both really great movies from really cool filmmakers. They're both movies that we've both rewatched a lot and that benefit from getting able to experience them over and over again. One a little bit more so than the other, but I think there's a resonance to Moonlight in a way that maybe Enemy doesn't have. Yet Enemy...
Boy, you tiptoeing.
Yet Enemy has kind of a philosophical air and a little bit like of a mind-altering, mind-expanding
a little bit
feel to it.
What do you honestly feel? Go ahead. Tell me. I know you honestly want Moonlight. I know you do.
I would go Moonlight. I
do.
I think it's narrowly Moonlight's, but I think it's the better movie.
Look, I can be unbiased with it. I know that a lot of it comes into, again, Enemy no doubt fits into that under the skin annihilation type of movie where it's like you're either with it or you're not. It's you go into it and you go, wow, that was really good. That was pretentious. It goes in there with a ghost story. I know that one of the other ones, A Ghost Story, Under the Skin, that's their Enemy for whoever that is. And I know that there's just something about Enemy that for me give it all. Now, I have my reasonings for it, and where I truly believe that the filmmaking in it is a lot better than ones like Under the Skin. A Ghost Story. That's why Denis Villeneuve is my favorite director working today. Mm-hmm. So while I do have my reasons for it, and I would argue for it more and more, like I really will, more than the bias that I can ever have for it, Moonlight is just way more accessible. And I say that by still admitting to the fact that I don't believe every movie needs to be universal. Mm-hmm. And Moonlight definitely isn't, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's that idea, oh, let's make something, but then you strip away a lot of it. But Moonlight does that thing where they present to you 3 radically different looking people.
Yeah.
And you still buy it.
Yeah.
Because of what the story is telling you and how much you shift with the certain actions in life.
Yeah, and it's a movie that takes advantage of all the things that you don't see, too. I think that's a really incredible thing to pull off. It's similar to the things that I love about Boyhood, but it does it in a different package.
Oh, come on now. It did everything I wanted Boyhood to do. And I believe his name is Trevante Rhodes. It gave us Trevante Rhodes.
It did give us Trevante Rhodes.
I'm fair with that. I'm good with that.
Cool. So we're going Moonlight, and then it's The Florida Project versus Spring Break.
Now you're playing right now, okay? Just because they both take in Florida.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta go Florida Project.
I'm not gonna let you disrespect it now.
I like Spring Breakers a lot. But Florida Project, I think, is a really great movie. We've talked on this podcast about why we both think it's really good. So I think we're both happy with that one advancing.
Enemy, yes.
So then we got Swiss Army Man versus A Most Violent Year to find out which one goes to the finals.
Bro, we about to post the winner as the fart movie. Let's go.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Swiss Army Man. We're going to. We got to get there first before I make a comment. But yes, I'm picking Swiss Army Man over A Most Violent Year. I don't know why, really, at this point. My mind is just racing at a certain point where I'm looking at this whole thing and I cannot believe that it beat Lady Bird.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys.
Good Time, Ex Machina, The Lobster, Room, Green Room, both rooms, and I personally think it beats A Most Violent Year. If we're talking about A24 and the risk that it takes, these are, I think, the risks that it takes, and I think it pays off because, like we're talking about, you usually see a movie and that's the movie right there. Maybe it spawns off some roles. It's like a Frankenstein. They're taking bits and pieces of the movie to use in other things.
Yeah.
Harry Potter is in this movie. He is the farting corpse.
And you don't think of him as Harry Potter either. Like,
exactly. I know that
it's hard enough to do that.
I know that it's so cartoonish, but when we talk about Robert Pattinson having such a good role and good time, Daniel Radcliffe did it better. He's farting.
Yes, I think this kind of evokes the discussions we've had about BoJack. How sometimes the most ridiculous comedy gives you the most profound and deep moments. And this is a movie where a guy riding a farting corpse will make you cry. And I do not feel bad saying that. It's like, I never thought that I would love when I heard about this at Sundance, like the farting corpse movie. I was so annoyed at the existence of it. But it proved me wrong. It's inventive in every single frame. One of the most inventive movies I've ever seen.
And that was part of the movie. You being upset before even giving it the chance, part of the movie. You just had to sign, seal, and deliver with that BoJack thing. I've been saying that phrase, especially for the last week or so. Comedies give you the most dramatic moments. It's the farting corpse movie.
On the other side of the bracket, we got 2 recent Oscar nominees, the Oscar winner, Moonlight, and the Oscar nominee, The Florida Project. I like Florida Project a lot, but I don't think I'm going to go for it here. I think it's Moonlight.
It's Moonlight.
So we're down to a final of The Farting Corpse Movie versus A24's Best Picture winner. How do you choose? How do you even choose?
You know what we're picking. I just don't want to be the one to say it.
I love Swiss Army Man. I've seen Swiss Army Man way more than I've watched Moonlight.
I'm going to put it to you this way. The LGBT community is always welcome here on the Intercut. I know people like to feel away whenever they think that they forget that we're talking about movies here. Last thing I need, How dare you? You love releasing gas over the triumphant pride movie that was ours.
I've never
Enemy's
seen
my
something like
favorite
Swiss Army
A24 movie.
Yeah.
But in this bracket, the way the cards have been played, Swiss Army Man is inventive.
Yeah.
The Daniels have, and here's the thing, the Daniels have yet to make the movie yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? When we look back at their career, Swiss Army Man is going to be one of the movies that they made before the movie. You know what I mean? They've yet to make that one. And I'm glad to be on the path that they're on right now. Because when they finally make that movie, everyone's going to go like, yo, that's great. And then you're going to go back and watch. Right? Mm-hmm. Like Taika. People are barely going back and watching his movies. Right?
I wonder even if, like, when we see more from the Daniels, maybe we won't feel as highly about Swiss Army Man. Maybe we'll be like, oh, that was only the start. Like, they're taking this aesthetic even further. Or maybe that aesthetic turns into something that feels more like a gimmick. I don't think so.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so.
I think Swiss Army Man is brilliant. It's emotional. It's hilarious and it's touching.
There really is a lot. There really is a lot to it. And if you're one to have dismissed it, please give it another chance.
Yeah. And it's also just like one of the. I think what's great about it ending up at the top of our A24 bracket is it's maybe the epitome of the kind of movie that we probably wouldn't get wide release for without A24.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Minority Report versus Swiss Army Man. Who you giving it to? All these other movies are great. Movies are great. Moonlight is a fantastic movie. Ex Machina is a fantastic movie. Enemy is one of my personal favorites of all time.
Yeah.
But in terms of the way that we played this bracket between both of us, Intercut is your official. Is it a Razzie? Technically.
Intercutty?
It's your Intercutty? Well, I'm saying it's a Razzie because that's what happens in the movie. But Swiss Army Man, it utilizes its story and its craziness just like the title suggests. And I say if you have not watched it, give it a chance. If you've seen it before and you dismissed it, give it a chance.
Yes, please do. It's a really great movie that we enjoy a lot here at Intercut. So that does it for our A24 bracket. Let us know down below where we went wrong. I'm sure you will.
They're going to say round one. They're going to say the first one.
What about Lady Bird, bro? Man. But these brackets have been a lot of fun. We're going to get to our best Netflix TV shows the next time you see us on Intercut. So make sure you stay tuned to the Intercut. Subscribe to us. Click those links, likes, and stuff down below. Make sure you do all that fun stuff. And that brings us to our final segment of the week, the new to see, talking about what's new in theaters, on DVD, and streaming. I don't have it ready. So we're going to just move on to our picks for the week. Let you know what's good out there to watch, what's worth your time. Art, what are you recommending people go and check out?
Well, I've seen a couple of the ones that are coming out in theaters already a little bit ahead of time. So I saw Blockers, and I think Blockers is it's a funny movie. I am not up on it like a lot of other people are.
Yeah, there's some people talking about it as like a really great spring comedy.
I gotta chill a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a rent than going out to the theaters. But it is a funny movie, and it does have its moments, but it also has a lot of dumb moments. But the Blockers out there, it's decent amount of fun, a little bit of cringe. A Quiet Place is also coming out. Just came out of seeing this. Literally, through the magic of editing, I actually saw it in between the episode. If you didn't notice. It is a fantastic movie. It is a lot more isolated than you think it is. If you're going to go to the theater, do not be that person who brings in something to drink. I am not against that. Bring in an entire six-pack if you want. But I am telling you, you're supposed to open it during lounge scenes. You're going to take the thing home. There is no loud scenes. It is actually super, super quiet. You will hear other people sniffing, breathing. You will hear them thinking. You will hear the movies that are playing over there. And it's such an interesting experience. And this is one where the sound really matters. So find the best sound capable, the best digital audio Dolby Atmos screen that you can find.
Do your fellow film goers a favor. And if you've got a case of the sniffles, just
up.
Stay at home.
Yes,
stay at
please.
home. For a quiet place, at least.
Yeah. Be quiet at home. And then Isle of Dogs, which is my personal favorite because I love cultural appropriation. and I love it when Wes Anderson does it.
Yeah.
And it's you haven't seen it yet, right?
I haven't.
We'll talk about it next week.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. I think it's more fantastic than Fantastic Mr. Fox. In fact,
Interesting.
And I with jokes aside, I do see it as cultural appreciation. I see him really going in there and paying homage to, Godzilla takes place in Japan. It's also fictional.
Yeah.
And I think it's a delightful treat, if you
Yeah. Just hitting on that cultural appropriation topic really quickly, I think Emily Yoshida at Vulture ended up writing a really interesting article.
I love her articles, too. Even if I disagree with it. I love the way she writes.
She's got a really interesting article where she talked to some actual Japanese people and Japanese speakers about what their reaction to the movie was. And I think it's a lot more nuanced than a lot of the discussions that we're having out there. Mm-hmm. And a lot kinder, too, because sometimes I think when we get into this argument of a cultural appropriation, appreciation, whatever it is, we just throw out these really mean-spirited ideas, and this is a much more even-handed take on it. So if you're looking for a thoughtful, informative look, Emily Yoshida at Vulture talked about the cultural appropriation-ness around Isle of Dogs. My pick of the week, though, it's something that's relatively new to Amazon Prime Video. I caught this at last year's Tribeca Film Festival, Flames. This is from director Michael Malamadov, who is a really interesting director. He previously put out the Problem with Apu, which a lot of people were talking about last year.
Yeah, I remember that one.
So this one, though, is a bit of a hybrid of documentary and fiction. It is about two filmmakers, one of whose names is Josephine Decker, who I've seen a couple of her movies before. I think you might have seen one of her movies and not liked it.
No, Madeline's Madeline.
Oh, yeah, wait.
I thought that was super intriguing. Yeah, I thought the movie was super intriguing. It is definitely not going to be for everyone, but I loved what it did.
Okay, cool. So she is in this movie.
Okay.
But it's about a relationship that she was in for 5 years with another director, and basically how they fell in love and out of love during the process of it, where they fictionalize certain elements and they're playing with the relationship.
Is the other director in the movie?
Yeah, they're not Malamadov, but the two people who are in the relationship are the stars of the movie, and they're also kind of guiding the project. So it's this weird thing where it's their lives, but they're also performing it for cameras and trying to make it the most interesting film it could be.
And they're directors.
It's this very, very interesting blend where you can't really tell how much of it is real, how much of it is meant to be real, how much of it is fiction. There's a lot of emotions on their sleeves. You can tell this was a real painful, hurtful process for the people at the center of this film, Josephine Decker and forgetting the other guy's name.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating. It's a
crazy.
really interesting look. Yeah, I mean, it's a much more intimate view on relationships than you're bound to get in most movies because it's so real, and it's uncomfortable too. I mean, there's moments where they're madly, passionately in love, and you see their sexual, intimate moments, and then you see them have intense fights the way that only people who know each other really well
would be able to fight.
Could be mean to each other. You go into therapy sessions for them, and then they ask you to think, well, are we doing these therapy sessions for us or for the movie?
Yeah.
And it's just a great mindfuck. The director, Malamadov, does appear in it too during edit sessions, because they filmed edit sessions.
It's just for the movie that's being edited. Okay.
So if you're interested as a filmmaker, I think there's a lot of really cool elements here, just piecing together what is real, what's not, what's documentary, what's fiction. But also, if you just want to see a raw glimpse at relationships, I think Flames on Amazon Prime Video, that's absolutely worth checking out.
That's dope. Interesting.
So that's all for this week's show. You can catch more from me, Zach Shevich, by following me on Twitter @ZShevich or on Instagram @ZShevich, and check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/multiplexshow. Art, where can people find more from you?
You can find me at the A to Z Show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Got videos coming up there. You can also find me, depending on when you're watching this, the Doc 10 Film Festival in real life if you're a Chicago native, or C2E2 if you're a Chicago native. If you're watching this in the future, I will also be going to the 2019, 2020, 2021. I will be skipping 2022, but returning on 2023 for those festivals. And you can find me right here on the Intercut.
Yeah, man. Every week you can listen to episodes of the Intercut using Apple Podcast, iTunes, SoundCloud, whatever your favorite podcatcher is. I like Overcast. And then make sure you're subscribed to the video feed, not just that audio podcast. It's on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/intercutpod. You can catch our bright, shining, smiling faces here every week and see as we run through the latest in entertainment. Find new episodes of the Intercut here, usually on Tuesdays. Sometimes they're getting up on Wednesdays. We've had a little bit of busy schedule, but we're going to be consistent getting you one every week. So make sure you're subscribed, sharing, liking, whatever you got to do. Like our Facebook page, our Instagram page, our Twitter pages. All of them are at IntercutPod to get updates from both of us throughout the week. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time. She said, "Do you love me?" I told her, "Sorry, I'm only in love with the movies, Netflix and chill."